Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is Gateway TV, Gateway Gazette program. We broadcast live every Thursday at 8:30 from our London. This is News and Views channel, and we highlight the news from across the world. Last week and this week, there is no any news except for Asia Bibi, whether BBC, CNN, Gateway Television, any channel, Pakistani television, Indian channels, wherever you switch on your television, you will find only one news, and that is related to Asia Bibi. Asia's case is a landmark. The judgment, which is given by the Chief Justice of Pakistan and other justices, it's a big news for everyone, and this news is echoed across the world. Pakistan has been going through a very, very tragic situation, the situation which occurred last week. Many people have lost their cars, their motorcycles, their homes. What was happening last week, nobody knows. It was just because of one woman, and that was Asia Bibi. We are glad that the Pakistani present government, the Chief of Army Staff, the Chief Justice, at least they have courage to take up this issue. This issue was pending from the last almost 9 years. The poor woman was suffering without his children, without her husband. But at least now the time has come. Yesterday's news was a good news. At least she has been released from Multan jail. There are many news across the world, and especially in this era where disinformation, fake news is a part of our everyday life. Today I read a tweet which was sent by Information Minister Fawad Chaudhry, and it says it has become a norm to publish fake news for sake of headlines. Asia Bibi case is sensitive issue. It was extremely irresponsible to publish news of her leaving the country without confirmation. I strongly urge section of media to act responsible. And we have also noticed, it seems that yellow journalism has started. People are posting on Facebook, Twitter, WhatsApp, without knowing the facts, without knowing the consequences, without knowing what's happening in Pakistan, what's happening with the people who will suffer the consequences. Today we are going to talk a very senior people, my panel. We would also know the different governments, especially the government of UK, what they are doing, what is their plan. We will also talk to few people in Pakistan. Today in the studio, my guest is Councillor Maurice Jones. He's a very famous person. He is working for the Pakistani Christians, for the minorities, and his services are, I cannot count his services. Mr. Morris, we welcome you to our show.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.
The last week and this week, there is no any other news except for Asia Bibi. What do you say about this case now?
I would like to say that she has suffered for 9, 10 years. She's been incarcerated. She's been without her children. And finally, under the case came to the Supreme Court of Pakistan, and the 3 Chief Justices found her not guilty. What I would like to say is the justices have found there is no case to answer.
Mr. Jim Shannon online.
Good evening, Mr. Shannon.
Hello?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, I think yes, yes, sir.
Hello, good evening. Jim, this is John Bosco.
Oh, John, yeah, good to hear from you here.
We welcome you to our show. Viewers, with me is Mr. Jim Shannon. He's MP from UK Parliament. Jim, your recent visit, I have seen your pictures. I believe it was a lovely visit to Pakistan. But before I go to in that detail, I just want to know that was a landmark in the history of Pakistan where judges announced her acquittal from the prison. About Asia Bibi, what do you say about this?
Well, obviously we're very pleased to hear the right decision that Asia Bibi has been freed from prison. Today's news is even better. But the fact is, it should never have happened to start with. We did take the opportunity when we were in Pakistan there to convey our disquiet and annoyance and our feelings about what was a malicious case of blasphemy against Asia Bibi, which was unsubstantiated, which was not evidential, and which was done for all the wrong reasons. So the right decision was made. It's just a pity that it took 8 years for it to happen. But nonetheless, good news, and the fact that the Prime Minister of Pakistan has endorsed that is also good news. Probably the unfortunate news or the bad news is that the fact that she's not able to leave the country. And I think what we must all try and do now is to come together. I know I have written to the Jeremy Hunt, the Foreign Commonwealth Office Minister, with an early day motion going down at Westminster on Monday of next week, asking the USA, the Canada, the United Kingdom, and any other country, and I've seen in the paper this week, if they have offered asylum for Asia Bibi and her family, and that would be good news. But I think we've got to find her somewhere else in the world to live so she can have a quality of life, and indeed she can have life itself.
And Jim, I just want to know about the curiosity, the people who are settled here, especially from Pakistan and other part of the world. They wanted to know where the UK's Parliament is standing on this issue. People are thinking that why so far the UK Parliament, the UK government has not offered any assistance to Asia Bibi in regards with the asylum to her or her family.
Yeah, I think I'm quite disturbed by that as well, John. And certainly, I'm not quite sure. Well, certainly to the public eye, if it's seen that they've done nothing, but certainly we behind backs have inquired of the Foreign Commonwealth Office Minister Jeremy Hunt himself that there would be action taken. And I suspect that it probably has been some contact made with the Pakistan government to try and spur, if that's the way to put it, spur Asia Bibi and her family out of Pakistan to a new life elsewhere. It just wouldn't be safe for her to remain in Pakistan at this moment in time, and the protests that have taken place have been an indication of just how deep in those violent threats are. There are people out there who will stop at nothing. We've got to preserve her life. We've got to ensure that she can enjoy life with her husband and with her family and with her children again. So I believe that there is things happening behind backs at this moment in time. I'm hoping that the 4 countries that are referred to there, because at least one of those countries as well, that we could find somewhere that would be suitable to enable her and her family to have the life that they deserve, and ultimately to worship their God in a country where they can do so.
And do you think the reason behind this? Do you think that the UK government is a little bit worried about the projects they are running in Pakistan, or they have some sort of fear? That is one of the reasons they have not yet offered any assistance to her.
I can't say that. I don't have the knowledge of what's happening with the Foreign and Commonwealth Office Minister, but I do know that many of us have contacted the British government to ensure that they do something. I'm always quite confident that there's enough of an interest in CLBB's case in Parliament, and there is cross-party support. There's many of us who would wish to see this case been put to bed and see her having the chance to have a life somewhere in the world where she can be free, can continue to have the company of her husband and her children and see them growing up, and can ultimately worship her God in the way that she wishes to do. I think there's a willingness amongst the British government, and indeed amongst all governments, to make that happen. So I'm quite confident that we will find some way of doing that. We just need to focus everyone's attention from all four countries upon the best place, the best thing to do for a CLBB and her family, and where the best place to be is.
And Jim, would you like to share your good news that you have recently visited to Pakistan?
Yeah, I must say I was really pleased to go to Pakistan, and perhaps for the first time, I've always, as you know, John, you know the story, I've prayed for Pakistan for some probably 30 years of my life. I've always had a passion for the people, for the Christians and the religious minorities in Pakistan. I had a chance to go there just in the September, beginning of October, to visit some of the religious minorities, but also to meet those whose human rights have been suppressed and been affected by life in Pakistan. The people were most generous. We were so pleased to have the opportunity to be there and meet them face to face, and ultimately probably one of the greatest thrills for me would have been in the cathedral in Lahore, where Morris Jones and I both went to worship in the cathedral.
Oh, great!
The other two colleagues, they went to the Roman Catholic cathedral as well to worship. So we had a chance to worship it alongside our Christian brothers and sisters, which we did do and which we thoroughly enjoyed. At the same time, the hospitality of the Pakistan people was enormous. Loving people. It's very obvious to me that there are people who want to get on with their lives, and we want to enable them to do that. So it's a chance to interact with people. I suppose really, if you're in Pakistan and you don't have any direct interaction with someone in Parliament or someone from a different country who's of a Christian disposition and faith, and who wants to go to Pakistan and meet them, those people were encouraged. So many of those people were just encouraged that someone was taking the interest for them. One lady said to me, she says, I think the Lord sent you. I says, well, actually, I know he did. And we had a chance to do that parliamentary deputation to meet them. And she also said to me, I'll never forget those words, she says, we thought that nobody cared. I said, we've always cared, because I said, I've never met you until today, but I've been praying for you for 30 years as a Christian. So those are things that sometimes people need to be encouraged, and I think that was great. And then we also had a chance to visit some of the slums in Islamabad. Again, a very humbling experience, where people who have absolutely nothing, but they have a faith, and that faith sustains them through all the worst of conditions and needs, and whether it be physical needs, emotional needs, but they have nothing, but they have something much more important. They have a faith in the Lord Jesus, and that was a really important thing, and they had that. And so it made me think of, well, we maybe have lots, and we have but the most important thing in all this world that you can ever have is your faith and your assurance that the Lord Jesus is your Saviour, and that's a really important thing.
And with me is Morris John. Mr. Morris will also have one question for you.
Hello, Jim. It's Morris Johns here. Hello. Yes, thanks, Jim. Jim, it was a historic visit by you to Pakistan, and I know you raised several topics with several people on different occasions. I just wanted to ask you, what was the most memorable part for you, and how do you think you made a difference by going to Pakistan and meeting all those people?
Well, I suppose the whole trip was memorable, more every part of it. But the main reason for going there was to meet my Christian brothers and sisters. But it was a chance to interact with those of different faiths as well, because I think we all seek, I mean, as you know, I'm chair of the all-party parliamentary group of freedom of religious belief, and along with yourself, I'm also chair of the Pakistan Religious Minority. So the big thing for me was to go there and meet my Christian brothers and sisters. But we also tried to encourage those of a different faith to understand that we can all live together. And with the opportunity we had to meet with those with other faiths, the Islamic faith, for instance, the chances we had to interact with government officials at the highest level, to meet the Pakistan Human Rights Commission, to do our interviews. But really, for me, it was the two stories I said to John there. It was meeting the wee lady she's only about 5'4" and I'm 6 foot. She pulled me down to her level and gave me a hug and told me that we thought nobody cared, but we always cared. And I had said to her, before I met you, I was praying for you, and as indeed were the people from my church and from all over across Northern Ireland and the United Kingdom. And the wee lady we met is probably the lasting experience, which I found quite emotional. I think we all did. Mary Rimmer, Lord Alton and myself, and probably everyone else who was there, was a wee lady in the slum who was teaching the children education, because there's so much to do. There's so many ways of making lives better, and there seems to be a willingness, at least on paper, to make lives better, but we've got to try and see some of that action, being the result of the words that have been given to us and the assurances that have been given to us. But the wee lady, she was teaching the children probably the very rudimentary education. But at the end of the day, that was her job, that was her Christian calling in that Christian slum of some 48,000 people living in 8,000 houses on the edge of Islamabad. And we asked her what she needed, and you can remember it well, Mark, because you were there as well.
Yes.
She said, I have everything, I have the Lord Jesus. And to me, really, that's the important thing.
Thank you very much, Jim. Thank you very much for giving us your valuable time. Thank you.
Not at all. Very pleased.
Thank you, Jim.
Thank you. Viewers, that was Mr. Jim Shannon. Mr. Jim Shannon is MP, Chairman, All-Party Parliamentarian Group of Religious Minority, UK Parliament. My next guest is also one of the very known politicians here. We are going to talk in few minutes with him. Mr. Morris, just tell me that he updated many things about his visit, but you were also accompanied with him. Could you please tell us a little bit more about the other projects, the people you met, and the achievement so far you want to tell us about?
Yes, John, we met lots and lots of people, government officials, ministers, Punjab governor, Bilawal Bhutto Zardari, president of the Azad Kashmir, and the ministers for minority affairs in Punjab. And we tried to get as many things as possible in very limited time. We had about 3 days in Islamabad and about 3 days in Lahore. And during that time, we tried to raise issues, very practical issues. For example, the 5% quota for minorities in employment, which our great leader Shahbaz Bhatti got for the minorities. And as you know very well yourself, the problem is that implementation of that 5% quota is not taking place. And if it does take place, quite often very, very poor jobs are offered to the minorities, janitorial jobs and sweepers jobs. And we raised that issue with the Punjab governor, with the Ministry of the Human Rights. And you will be interested to know that even when we raised that issue with the Punjab governor, Chaudhry Sarwar, he told us himself that the quota is not being implemented in spirit, and we need to work on that. And we asked the governor to, if the Punjab government could send a notification to all the institutes. For examples, if you go across to different semi-autonomous government institutes, for example, like the banks and universities, and quite often they say that it doesn't apply to them. Whereas the governor said...
Hello. Hello. Hello, Mr. Shira? Good evening, Mr. Shira. Viewers, with me is Dr. Jim Shira. Dr. Jim Shira is a councillor from Rugby from the last 36th year. He is an ex-mayor. Mr. Shira, we welcome you to our show. Hello? Sorry, can you hear me, sir? Hello? I think line got disconnected. Can I request the technical team to please? Yeah.
Yes. So what I was talking about the 5% quota for the minorities in employment. And that is a very practical thing which affects or doesn't affect hundreds of the people from the minorities. Now imagine, John, if it was applied properly and hundreds, possibly thousands of people from the minorities were able to get proper jobs, good jobs, not very top jobs, but jobs like managers or school teachers, nurses. If they were able to get those jobs, that will lift up the whole communities.
Hello, Mr. Shira. Hello, Mr. Shira. Hello. Can you hear me, sir? Yeah, जी मुझे आ रही है आवाज. Okay, Mr. Shira, can you please tell me that you recently met with Jeremy Corbyn, and tell us, our viewers, how was your discussion, and did you also discuss about the Asia Bibi's case?
I think this is a topic for all of us day and night. Whoever we see it, we discuss that. It's a natural reaction, and of course I mentioned that one, and I think the answer was again that we should pray for Ireland, because everybody is sympathetic, but whether people will take the re-election to do something, that's a different thing. But I think the only thing, I'm very hard to see, the member of parliament in Senate, very, very dedicated in the vote, and I really salute him for his commitment and vigor and devotion to the human rights issues. And of course, the shadow Prime Minister, the leader of the opposition, was very, very concerned, and he said everything possible needs to be done, must be done, and should be done to facilitate our life, access to new life.
And Mr. Shira, how do you see the handling of Pakistani government in Asia Bibi's case?
I think, again, in Pakistan there is a discussion going on through the society, in all forums, and public forum, political forum, and also the religious forum. What is the right and what the government has done right, what the government has not done right. But the fact is that it is a very, very serious and critical issue for any government, not this government. But I said that they could have, when we looking from outside, we believe they could have done something better. You would have a strategy or after the release, if he was going to release that how we are going to have to deal with that. I don't think they had it. And also the people who went from the state and had certain properties and various other buses and cars on the road, they could have taken care of that well in advance. And then these two fronts, I think the government has not been so active and effective. But in reality, they are showing all the sympathy and concern, and they're trying to deal with it well and what carefully does they could. But the fact is that we should be very, very concerned that more should say there is more license there to it. We should make sure that the government should not make another blunder by just keeping other people, some people happy. And I understand some people were saying, yeah, and America should be released, and in the bargaining of the fact is that case is totally different. Anyway, if somebody has committed this sort of blustery thing.
Thank you, Shera Saab. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you, Shera Saab. Viewers, that was Mr. Shera. Now we are going to discuss one of the journalists from Pakistan, Asif Akil. He's a freelance journalist for Dawn newspaper, Daily Time, The News International, and World Watch Monitor. We are going to discuss with him as soon as we get his call. Yes, Morris.
John, I was talking about the very practical issues which we were able to discuss with different government officials and ministers, and we were talking about the 5% minority quotas for employment. At our very first meeting, the governor of Punjab said to us that the government is going to send a notification to all the government departments and to the semi-autonomous organizations like banks and universities to make sure that they understand that the quota applies to them as well. And imagine if that was actually implemented, how many people could find employment, good employments through that quota. Connected with that is the 5% minority quotas in education. So, as you know, the previous government was thinking about that, and because it is a part of the employment quota as well, because sometimes people say the minorities don't have enough qualified people, so we can't offer them jobs. But the reason is that they can't get through the universities and the technical institutes. So the previous government had said that they are in favor of 5% quota for the minorities in universities, technical institutes, professional institutions, and we brought that subject up with with Ministry of Human Rights and with the governor as well, and we were assured that that is in the pipeline, and that 5% quota for the minorities in the education institutes will be implemented.
Hello? 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 Is that Mr. Asif Akil?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, Asif, we welcome you to our show.
Thank you very much.
With me is also Mr. Morris John sitting with me right now in the program, but I will go straight to the questions. The situation in Pakistan is not as good as we can see from the different videos which comes every day on the television and also across the world. Just tell me, you are in Pakistan and the ground realities are different what we see from outside Pakistan. How do you see the role of international community and the handling of Pakistan in Asia Bibi's case?
One those even the Pakistani diaspora or the Westerners, this is really important whatever you take steps there and you try to help local Christians here. That also has an impact. So when you try to help local Christians, especially in the case of Asia Bibi, that is seen as a conflict between two powers, two different entities. So locally, the people, they see it as if it's more about West is pressurizing Pakistan. My belief is that since the beginning it has been handled more sensibly. The situation would have been comparatively different. For example, since the beginning I believe that course of the due course of law should have taken place. Like in 7-8 years back, we haven't started talking about that she could be given a presidential pardon. So I think this is important how such cases and other efforts are projected in media and in general public.
And Asif, just tell me that we both are from originally from Pakistan, so we understand everything about this case and what had been happening from the last 50 to 60 years with the minorities. Now, my question, especially here, is whenever, hello, okay, sorry, whenever this issue, Asia Bibi's issue, is on the peak. So there is also a different case like Afia Bibi. What is the similarity between Asia Bibi's case and Afia Bibi? Asia Bibi is a Pakistani origin. She is in the Pakistani jail, whereas the case of Afia Bibi, she is in USA. What is the similarity in both cases?
So Pakistanis, they have a feeling that they West first, being Christian, that's what they assume, that probably all the West is Christian. Second, being mightier in terms of military and in terms of economics. So they dictate Pakistan or the other Islamic countries. So in order to having more equality or in terms of relation with the West, they want that it should be something on equal terms. So if you want get Asia Bibi, then Zinda Davis should have been given for Afia or for Asia Bibi. So I think it's again more how Pakistanis look to the West as a single entity and more as a Christian entity, and then it has an impact on Pakistani Christians as well. So I think again there is prudence on your part is required, and I recently, Morris John Sathi visited Pakistan, and it was really a wonderful experience with him. I really admire the way he handles all the things, and I think it's very important how people here feel that what others are in the West or in the Western countries, Christian or people in general, want Pakistan to have more rule of law.
Sorry, Asif, we have a very shortage of time. Mursab also has one little question for you, please.
Hello, Asif. Nice to speak to you. Asif, just very quickly, Astia's case is just one of the cases of blasphemy. How many other Christians are still in jail for the blasphemy?
The number is I guess, not like 20, 30, not more than 30, because
I see.
2-3 years back, we did this exercise and we wanted to know the exact number of Christians and even others, how many are in prison. So at that time, 3 years back, it was like 15. And because in recent years, the number of people because of Facebook, WhatsApp, and other cases, so I guess it should be around not exceeding 30.
Right.
Okay. Thank you, Akil. Thank you very much. Thank you for your valuable time.
Thank you, Asif.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for taking me on.
Okay. Thank you. My pleasure. Viewers, sorry we got late, but we are going for a break, and after the break, when we will come back, we will discuss one of our regular correspondent, Mr. Kamar Rafiq, and also with us in the program will be Watson Gill from Holland.
Tired of always running out of data? Don't worry, we've got you covered. With Leica Mobile's UK Plan Ultra, you get a phone-busting 15 gigabytes of data, unlimited UK minutes and texts, and 100 international minutes for just £12 for 30 days. That's a limited time offer of over 50% off when bought online with a new SIM order. That's big data and big value. Visit leicamobile.co.uk today to see the full offer. Terms and conditions apply.
हजारों लोग हर रोज सुबह से रात तक कभी न कभी एमए टीवी जरूर देखते हैं. They might be your future customers, but you have to tell them about your products and services. Let's grow your business with MA TV. Advertise, promote and market your product and services on MA TV. Call MA TV Sales on 07970 337036 or 0208 795 0026.
viewers, welcome back. Today's our show is all about Asia Bibi, and we are very thankful for the people who have been praying for Asia Bibi, and we all praying from the last 9 years. But our God is a God of miracles. God can do things which are impossible and difficult for us as a human being. Mr. Morris, please tell me more about the projects, some educational programs which you have started or which you have liaised with different people there.
Yes, John, one of the projects we had in mind was the removal of the hate material in the textbooks in Pakistan. And as you know, there is material which is discriminatory, and some progress has been made. But we had a meeting with DFID, which is the UK's Department for International Development. And because DFID is the main donor for Pakistan aid, Pakistan is the biggest recipient of the UK aid. And that is your tax, my tax, we are all paying for that. And we wanted to know why is it that the discriminatory books which won't be allowed in the UK are being taught in Pakistan. And we took with us Professor Anjum James Paul. You might know him.
Yes.
He's done a lot of research in the hate material. And we had a very long and detailed discussion, very frank discussions. And we talked about several things. Now, the outcome is that we have got channels of communication open. And we are going to carry on with this campaign. And we have been told that the progress will be made, and we have some promises which have been made to us.
Hello? 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 Is that Mr. Watson Gill? Yeah, Mr. Watson Gill, we welcome you to our show. Mr. Watson Gill is a writer, human rights activist, and political analyst from Holland. Mr. Watson, I know your struggle, and the people who are in Netherlands, they also discuss Asia Bibi's and other cases with the parliamentarian. Could you please tell us the role of the international community in Asia Bibi's case? And tell me now, the government of Pakistan has already taken the initiative, and the Chief Justice and the Chief of Army Staff and the whole Parliament, at least Asia has been released from the Multan jail. Now tell me what the Pakistan government has to do now.
Incident which faces Pakistan nowadays in Pakistan. We have not only
Okay, thank you, Mr. Watson. Thank you very much for staying with us. Thank you very much. Thank you, thank you. Mr. Morris, now we have very limited time, but I also have a very important question for you which related to this case. The religious political parties, they always played their politics on religion. Now, I think the time has come that the Pakistani government has to take some strict actions. What do you think? What actions they can take now?
I think, John, it is important. If you think about the image of Pakistan as it's being portrayed all over the world, that government needs to take a stand somewhere. You saw that when Prime Minister took a stand, he was admired, and a lot of people said that that was a very positive speech. However, when he went to China, soon afterwards, there was the strike started, there were demonstrations, people's properties were destroyed, people were threatened, fires were started, and that was, no country is an island nowadays. All that was being portrayed on the screens all over the world. And after that, when the government seemed to give in to their demands as well, that was again a repetition of the same thing which happened with the previous government. And that was very disappointing for a lot of people, especially since this time the demonstrators were speaking against the army and against the judiciary.
Hello, good evening. Kamar, we welcome you to our show. Hello, Kamar, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, Kamar, we welcome you to our show. This is your show. Now we have a very limited time, but I have very, very important question for you. Now we can see the disinformation is everywhere. Media is talking something else. Social media is telling something else. So what's going on? What do you say as a media person? What role media has to play now?
I think since last night, media has speculated about international media, local media, national media, and then media in multilingual sections across the Europe and then in Pakistan and in United Kingdom has been not much responsible, and I believe that family at this moment requires some respect and dignity, and I think we shouldn't say anything unless we have got the confirmation. And yes, you are right, there have been a lot of speculation in social media, and actual story is completely different, and particularly after the confirmation of Foreign Minister and your Home Minister confirming that Asia hasn't left Pakistan and she is still in Pakistan. I think we should be more responsible before we say anything.
And I just read a news in Dawn and some other newspaper. This news comes today. A session court in Lahore on Thursday fixed for hearing a petition against police officials for their failure to register a case against Tehreek-e-Labbaik Pakistan, Chief Khadim Hussain, Head Ashraf Jalali and other for threatening the top judiciary and inciting the armed forces to stage Asia Bibi's acquittal. So my question is that the case is against the police officer. Why not to the government of Punjab? That's my question. So why it is only for the police officer?
Yes, I think a couple of days before there was high-powered meeting which was took place under the leadership of Chief Minister of Punjab, and other law enforcement agencies officials were present in that meeting in Lahore, and they decided to take the full responsibility to crack down all those elements who were challenging constitutional rights of the people, and then the one who were damaging public property, and who were saying derogatory remarks against judges and other members of religious minorities, and then Prime Minister and Chief of Army Staff. And I think this has been decided a couple of days before that police is going to take a strict action first was responsible in a way that they didn't take any substantial action against these fanatic elements. And second thing, which is very much important, that during the 3 days when Pakistan was burning, Pakistan reflected as a leaderless country, reflected as a stateless country, and I believe that that was the responsibility of the current government to establish the writ of state, and on the due quality this was Pakistani government says them badly to take such actions to rectify all these elements.
With me is Mr. Morris John. Morris Saab, if you have any question for Qamar, please by all means.
Qamar, good evening. Just I wanted to ask you, what do you think is likely to happen in the next few days now?
I think this is premature to say anything, and I just don't want to speculate anything because I haven't come across any confirmed information. But in my personal opinion, I believe that the situation in Pakistan is very critical at the moment because different media houses and different sections of society are talking about Afia Siddiqui, and they are talking about Shakil Afridi, and then Asia Bibi's case is also on fire. So I think the Pakistani government is absolutely in the state of a great trial for them and great test for them, that they have to make hard decisions in coming days. And then March is coming tomorrow by Jamaat Islami, and then you are going to have a backlash of Asia's release from Multan. So I think that in the next couple of days are going to be very, very much important, and I believe that I was speaking to somebody that government is going to stay at front line to take some bold decisions, and I also know that a few countries are negotiating with.
Thank you, Qamar. Thank you very much.
Confirmed by Daniel, the president of EU Parliament, that we are in negotiations with local authorities.
Thank you, Qamar. Thank you very much. Thank you. That was our regular correspondent and from Gateway Television. Thank you, Qamar. That was very relevant question. And now we only have 4 to 5 minutes. But my question, I'm coming back here. I raised this question to Asif Akil, and I want to raise this question to you as well. There is no any similarity with Asia Bibi and Afia Siddiqui's case. What is the reason why people are making confusion between these two cases?
As you say, John, they are completely two different cases. There shouldn't be any comparison between the two. But I think some people want to take advantage and connect those two cases together. But really, there is nothing common between them. And I wouldn't speculate that they should be considered as similar cases.
And now it's your opportunity. What do you want to say in your last closing remarks? I think one thing we have to bear in mind, John, is that, as I said before, this is just one case. Even if it's resolved peacefully and everything is fine, there are still lots and lots of people still in jails, going through the courts, not only Christians, but Hindus, Muslims, Ahmadis as well. And this law, and increasingly mainstream Muslims as well nowadays. Yeah. And this law is just being used or misused by people for their own ends. So I think the government needs to think about how can it be that this law is being misused all the time. There was a suggestion that person who misuses it and accuses somebody wrongly
if they have to suffer the same sentence as for the person who's been accused, that will reduce the number of accusations.
Thank you, Mr. Morris John. Viewers, we hope you like our program. We tried our level best to raise as much as question we can raise to our different guests today. With us was Jim Shannon, who updated us his visit, and he also updated about the view of the Parliament, and Mr. Shira also spoke, Morris John and other people. It is a time for everyone to pray for the family, pray for Pakistan, pray for the government, pray for this country, pray for the people, pray for the people who believe that as she is freed from Multan jail, she will be released. And we are very hopeful the day will come, and we also hope that the situation in Pakistan will get better. Thank you for watching, and thank you for staying with us.
Tired of always running out of data? Don't worry, we've got you covered with Leica Mobile's